There's a cracker sitting in millions of kitchens right now that scores an 85 on the glycemic index. In plain terms, that's higher than many candies and dangerously close to eating spoonfuls of pure glucose. And the cruel irony, it's the cracker most people over 60 choose precisely because they believe it's the light, healthy option. If you're managing blood sugar, pre-diabetes, or type 2 diabetes, the cracker aisle can feel like a trap. One box says whole grain, another sugar-free, a third gluten-free, and yet your numbers still creep up after that afternoon snack. Those words on the front of the box were never meant to protect your blood sugar. They were meant to sell. Today, I'm giving you the 5 best crackers for blood sugar and type 2 diabetes by exact brand name, the ones I'd feel good seeing in your pantry, and the 3 worst that quietly work against you. We'll count the good ones together, 1 through 5, and the 5th may surprise you most. And that cracker scoring an 85, you'll find out exactly which one it is before we're done. Stay with me to the end. Before we get into it, do me a quick favor. Tell me in the comments which cracker you keep in your kitchen right now. The one you reach for in the afternoon. Just the name is enough. I'm asking because you might be surprised whether it lands on today's good list or the one to avoid. And if you'd like more trustworthy, no-nonsense guidance on keeping your blood sugar steady after 60, subscribe and stay close. That's what I'm here for. So, let me clear something up that confuses almost everyone. The problem was never the cracker itself. It's what the cracker is made of, the flour and the fiber. That's why 2 crackers that look identical, sitting side by side on the same shelf, can do completely opposite things inside your body. Here's what happens. When a cracker is built from refined flour, your gut breaks it down into simple sugar within minutes. There's no fiber, no protein to slow things down, no speed bump on the road. So the sugar floods in fast, your blood sugar spikes, and then it crashes just as hard. That crash is what leaves you tired an hour later, reaching for another snack you didn't plan on eating. Now, this isn't just my opinion. A clinical trial registered under the identifier NCT 05702372 tested crackers that all contain the same 50 grams of carbohydrate. Same carb load, different flour. The cracker made from sunflower seed flour scored a glycemic index of 53. Whole wheat came in at 77. And the one made from refined flour. It hit 90 dwarfs, nearly double the impact of the seed cracker from foods that looked almost the same on the plate. Let me tell you about Margaret. She's 68 and she is careful, genuinely careful about what she eats. But her morning numbers wouldn't budge. Month after month, the same stubborn reading. She kept a snack in her pantry she trusted more than anything else. Something she was certain was the lightest, healthiest choice in the house. Her granddaughter had once told her it was the diet kind, and that was good enough for Margaret. I'll tell you exactly what it was later, but I think a few of you already keep the same box. So, before we get to the brands, I want to hand you a tool. Call it your label filter. 4 things to check every single time you turn a box over. First, the very first ingredient should be a seed or a whole grain. Not enriched flour, not wheat flour. Those are the refined kind dressed up in friendly words. Second, at least 3 grams of fiber per serving. Third, 0 added sugar. And fourth, this one matters especially after 60 pounds, low sodium, because your heart and your kidneys are carrying enough already. Keep those 4 in your back pocket, because once you can read a box this way, you stop trusting the front of the package and start trusting the truth on the back. And that's where we're headed. 5 crackers that pass this test, starting with the easiest one to find. Let's start with number 1. And I picked this one first on purpose because it's the easiest swap you can make. You can find it in nearly every grocery store across the country, sitting right there on the regular shelf. No specialty aisle, no health food store. It's Triscuit Original. Turn the box over and read that ingredient list because it's refreshingly short. Whole grain wheat, oil, and sea salt. That's it. 3 ingredients. You get 3 grams of fiber and only about half a gram of sugar per serving. And its glycemic index lands in the moderate range, somewhere around 50 to 55. Compare that to the refined cracker that hit 90. And you can already see the difference that first ingredient makes. And here's why that first ingredient matters so much. When 100% whole grain leads the list, the fiber is still intact. And fiber is what slows the whole digestion process down, so the sugar trickles in instead of flooding. This isn't a small effect either. One large analysis pooling data from over 463,000 people found that the highest whole grain intake was tied to a 21% lower risk of type 2 diabetes. For every 50 gram a day, the risk dropped by 23%. That's the quiet power of choosing the whole grain version. One practical word on the shelf, though. Reach for the original or the hint of salt version. The flavored ones, the ones coated in seasonings, often carry more sugar and more sodium than you'd expect. And don't be fooled by the thin crisp sitting next to them. Despite the name, they don't share the same clean profile. Stick with the plain box. It's doing more for you than the fancier ones beside it. Now, for number 2, and this one steps things up. If you're dealing with pre-diabetes or type 2, this is the group with the strongest evidence behind it because it doesn't just keep your blood sugar low. It actually asks less of your pancreas. I'm talking about whole grain, rye, crisp bread. And the brand to look for is Wasa. Reach for the whole grain, fiber, or light rye versions. You'll get around 3 grams of fiber, about half a gram of sugar, and notably low sodium, somewhere near 85 milligrams a serving, which matters more than ever after 60. And Wasa isn't your only option here. Rita and Sigdidol sit in the same family. Same kind of dense, honest rye crisp bread. Same benefits. Here's what makes rye special. Research out of Lund University in Sweden found that whole grain rye crisp bread left people feeling fuller and produced a lower insulin response after eating than crackers made from refined wheat and whole rye kernels themselves. A glycemic index of just 48. So what does that actually mean for you day to day? 2 things. Feeling fuller longer means you're far less likely to drift back to the pantry for that afternoon nibble. And a lower insulin response means fewer of those blood sugar roller coasters. The steep climbs and stomach-dropping falls that leave you foggy and drained. One last tip. Rye crisp bread is firm, almost sturdy. That's not a flaw. It makes it the perfect base to build on, which is exactly what we'll get into a little later. For now, just know that this is one of the most pancreas-friendly choices you can put in your cart. Quick question for you before we go on, and be honest with me here. When you eat your crackers, how do you actually eat them? Do you nibble them plain, straight out of the box, or do you pair them with something? Drop it in the comments because how you eat them turns out to matter just as much as which ones you choose. And I'll show you exactly Why a little later. On to number 3. This one's for anyone who's sensitive to gluten or who simply wants a break from wheat, and it comes backed by the very trial I mentioned at the start. The brand is Crunchmaster in the multi-seed or multi-grain variety. What you're getting here is a blend of grains and seeds rather than refined flour, and it's gluten-free. Its glycemic index lands in that comfortable range of roughly 45 to 55. And remember that clinical trial, the one where flour was the only thing that changed that sunflower seed flour. The one that scored a 53 against refined flour's 90 is exactly this kind of seed-based cracker. It's living proof of the principle we keep coming back to. Change the flour and you change what happens to your blood sugar. The seeds aren't just texture, they're the whole reason the glucose curve flattens out. A couple of practical notes. When you're standing in the aisle, read the label and choose the lower sodium version because some batches carry more salt than others. And steer clear of the coated flavors, the ranch, the cheese-dusted ones, which tend to come loaded with extra additives you don't need. Who is this really for? If you're over 60 and gluten bothers your stomach, or you're just tired of wheat and want something with a little more variety, this is your cracker. It gives you that satisfying crunch without the refined flour spike, and that's the trade you're always trying to make. So that's 3 down, and we're climbing toward the ones that do the most for your numbers. Number 4 takes us somewhere a little different into lower carb territory with a benefit your heart will thank you for. Number 4 is where we drop into genuinely lower carb territory. And this matters especially if, like so many people, after 60, you're watching your heart as closely as your blood sugar. The brand is Simple Mills Almond Flour Crackers. These are built from a blend of almond flour, sunflower seeds, and flax, and that combination does double duty. Almonds bring vitamin E and the kind of monounsaturated fat that's good for your heart, while the flax adds a dose of omega-3. So you're not just dodging a sugar spike, you're feeding your cardiovascular system at the same time. But let me be straight with you about the numbers, because I won't oversell this one. A 30-gram serving runs about 150 calories with 18 grams of carbohydrate, 8 grams of fat, and 3 grams of protein. So, no ways. This is not a super low-carb cracker. You still need to mind your portion. What works in your favor is that the fat and the protein blunt the impact, so the blood sugar response stays gentle even with those carbs in there. It's about the whole package, not just one number. And here's the trap I want you to sidestep with this one. These are gluten-free. And gluten-free has somehow become a health halo. People see those words and assume it's automatically better for them. It isn't. Gluten-free can still be refined starch dressed up nicely. The reason Simple Mills earns a spot on this list has nothing to do with that label. It earns it because it's built from nuts and seeds. The flour is the hero here, not the marketing on the front of the box. And now we reach number 5, the one I promised might surprise you most. Because when most people picture the best cracker for blood sugar, this is not what comes to mind. But pound for pound, it's the strongest performer on this entire list. I'm talking about flaxseed crackers. Flackers is the brand with Mary's Gone crackers as the easier to find runner-up. Here's why Flackers earn the crown. A serving size about 8 crackers gives you roughly 10 grams of carbohydrate. But look closer. 9 of those grams are fiber, and you're getting 6 grams of protein on top. Subtract the fiber and the carbohydrate that actually moves, your blood sugar is almost nothing. That's about as friendly a number as a cracker can give you. And if flackers are hard to find near you, Mary's Gone crackers, made from brown rice, quinoa, flax and sesame with 3 grams of fiber, organic and gluten-free, is the one you'll spot on more shelves. Let me put that fiber in perspective because it's remarkable. 1 serving of flackers delivers more than 1/3 of your entire fiber needs for the day. And fiber isn't a minor detail for people in your situation. A study published in PLO Medicine found that among people with diabetes, raising fiber intake from 19 grams a day up to 35 was linked to 14 fewer deaths per 1,000 people. That's the kind of number that should make you look twice. The mechanism behind all this comes down to a ratio, protein to carbohydrate. The sweet spot is roughly 1 gram of protein for every 2 grams of carb or less. And these crackers hit it. That ratio is why the sugar climbs slowly, why you stay full, why things hold steady. One honest everyday word of caution though. Flaxseed is rich in oil and oil goes rancid. So once you open the box, keep it in the refrigerator. A small thing, but it's the difference between a cracker that helps you and one that's quietly gone off in the cupboard. Now, here's something I need you to hear because it changes everything. Even the best cracker on that list, even the flackers, even the rye can spike your blood sugar if you eat it the wrong way. The cracker is only half the equation. How you eat it is the other half. And there are 3 levers in your control. What you pair it with, how much you eat, and when you eat it. Let's start with the golden rule, the one I want you to tattoo on your memory. Never eat a naked carb. Never eat crackers alone. Always pair them with protein or a healthy fat, a slice of cheese, a spoon of unsweetened nut butter, hummus, a little mashed avocado. That partner slows your digestion down and shaves the top right off the sugar peak. The same cracker eaten with cheese instead of bare lands in your bloodstream like a completely different food. Then there's portion. And this is where good intentions quietly fall apart. Most people eat 2, sometimes 3 servings while genuinely believing they've had 1. And every time you double the portion, you double the carbs, the sodium, the calories. So don't eat by the handful. Look at the box, find the serving size, and count the actual crackers. It feels almost silly, but it's one of the most powerful things you can do. Timing matters too. Your body is usually more sensitive to insulin in the morning and less so at night, which means a high glycemic cracker eaten late in the evening spikes you harder than the same cracker at breakfast. So if you do snack after dark, that's exactly when pairing with protein becomes non-negotiable. And there's one more thing that matters enormously after 60 a sodium. The FDA's standard for low sodium is under 140 milligrams per serving. The American Heart Association recommends staying under 2,300 milligrams a day, and ideally under 1,500 if you've got high blood pressure. If you're older with blood pressure or kidney concerns, you're in the high-risk group, which means a cracker that's wonderful for your sugar, but loaded with salt is still working against you. So let me hand you back that label filter because it cuts through all 4 of the big marketing traps. Whole grain on the front, while white flour leads the ingredients, sugar-free, that still turns to sugar because it's white flour. Gluten-free, that's just refined starch. Lightly sweetened, which is still added sugar wearing a softer name. Read the back. always the back. So we've covered what to put in your cart. Now, let me show you what to leave on the shelf. The 3 crackers quietly working against you, and I'm counting these down from bad to worst. Because the worst one is the very cracker so many people believe is the healthiest thing in their kitchen. Coming in at number 3, Ritz and the buttery snack crackers like them. Flip one over. And the first ingredient is enriched refined flour, followed by sugar, high fructose corn syrup, and palm oil. Fiber, almost none, under a gram. Its glycemic index sits around 70, which means your body handles it about the same as it would handle sugar. And watch for the trap on some boxes that say baked with whole wheat. Read carefully. The refined flour still comes first on the list. The whole wheat is only second, riding along for the marketing. Number 2, the saltine, the plain soda cracker, white refined flour, a glycemic index around 72, and virtually no fiber to slow any of it down. One serving hits your blood sugar about the same as 2 slices of white bread. I'll give you a quick honourable mention here too. Wheat Thins. They wear the whole grain label proudly, but they also carry refined canola oil and several forms of added sugar. Around 4 grams of added sugar per serving, not the friend the box pretends to be. And now, the worst of them all. Number 1, rice crackers and rice cakes. This is the cracker from the very start of our time together, the one scoring an 85 on the glycemic index. Its glycemic load runs around 65 per 100 gram. The fiber is minimal and the sodium is often high. Large population studies have linked white rice to a higher risk of type 2 diabetes. And here's the cruel paradox. People choose it precisely because it looks so light, so airy, so harmless. That lightness is exactly the problem. There's nothing in it to slow the sugar down. And that brings us back to Margaret. This was her snack, the one her granddaughter called the diet kind. The box she trusted more than anything else in her pantry was a stack of rice cakes, and every afternoon it was quietly undoing all her careful work everywhere else. When she finally swapped it for seed and rye crackers, started pairing them with a little protein, and watched her portions, her morning numbers began to move. Not overnight, not some miracle reversal, but after months of being stuck, that stubborn reading finally started inching in the right direction for the first time, because she'd found the one thing that had been hiding in plain sight. So, let's bring this home. I want you to walk away with one idea fixed in your mind. The cracker was never your enemy. It never was. What decides whether that snack helps you or harms you isn't the shape or the brand on the front. It's the flour it's built from and the fiber it carries. That's the whole secret, and Margaret's story shows you how much a small change on a grocery shelf can really mean. One swap, one careful look at the back of a box, and months of being stuck finally gave way. You can see the trap now, and once you can see it, you're no longer caught in it. So here's exactly where to start. 5 simple things, and you can begin this week. First, turn the box over and read that very first ingredient. It has to be a seed or a whole grain, not enriched flour wearing a friendly name. Second, look for at least 3 grams of fiber and 0 added sugar. And while you're there, check that sodium sits under 140 milligrams a serving. Third, on your next trip to the store, replace what you're using now with one of the 5 brands we covered. And if you want the easiest place to begin, reach for Triscuit or Wasa. Fourth, never eat a cracker naked. Always pair it with protein or a healthy fat. And fifth, count your crackers by the serving on the label instead of eating by the handful. And if you tend to snack late, lean on the seed-based ones and pair them with protein. One more thing worth doing at your next visit, ask your doctor a simple, friendly question. Given my current numbers, how many carbs should I aim for in a snack? It's a good conversation to have together. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Of those 5 good crackers we went through today, which one are you going to try first on your next shopping trip? Tell me in the comments. I'm curious which one calls to you. And if someone you love is over 60, managing their blood sugar, and still has a stack of rice crackers or saltine sitting in their kitchen, send them this video. It might be the small nudge that helps them see what Margaret finally saw. I'm Dr. Claire Whitmore. I want you to remember that everything we talked about today is here to help you understand your own body and make informed choices. It's not a replacement for the doctor who knows your history. And please never stop or change a medication on your own without talking to the doctor treating you first. That part matters deeply. Take good care of yourself. Keep reading those labels. And if this helped you, subscribe and stay with me. I'll see you in the next one.